Welcome to The Awakened Heart, a podcast for healing women, a space where your voice matters, your body is sacred, and your journey home to yourself is honored, no matter how winding the road. I'm Autumn Moran, licensed professional counselor, life coach, yoga instructor, and ultimately your companion on this divine path we call healing. First up, big welcome back to my loyal listeners and a big ass welcome to all the first-time listeners. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you following me. I am coming up. This is the week following my post-surgery. So today is the episode that was supposed to be last week. And then Friday is a bonus episode of just what I've learned post-surgery. And I'd like to share it. But today we're diving into something that might feel really vulnerable. We're going to be talking about Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria, or RSD. And before you think, oh great, another episode about my emotional problems, I want you to hear me out. What if the very thing you've been told that is too much about you is actually one of your greatest gifts? Today we are learning that your emotional intensity is a gift. I'm not going to pathologize your sensitivity. I'm not going to give you tips on how to manage your emotions like there's some kind of problem to be solved. Instead, we're going to explore how the same wiring that makes rejection feel unbearable is also connected to some of your most powerful gifts. This is especially important for all my neurodivergent listeners, my ADHD folks, my autistic friends, and my trauma survivors, because you've probably been told your whole life that your emotions are too much, that you're too sensitive, that you need thicker skin. If you want to dive deeper in on that, 2 episodes ago, I think I just did, I don't have them memorized, about being too much and how to make the best of that. So what is rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD? Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. Because RSD isn't just feeling sad when someone doesn't like you or just simply being too sensitive. It's a sudden onset, overwhelming emotional response to perceived or actual rejection, criticism, or failure. And I want to emphasize that word, overwhelming. It can be described as a physical pain in the chest or gut, an immediate catastrophic certainty that they've ruined everything, a complete collapse of senses of self-worth in seconds, an urge to flee, hide, or completely withdraw. Sometimes even suicidal ideation that comes on suddenly and intensely can be present. If you're nodding along right now, if you're feeling that recognition in your body, I want you to take a pause, because one of the most painful things about RSD is how misunderstood it is. So take a nice deep breath, inhale it in, let that belly rise. Exhale out of the mouth, let it go. People say shit like, just don't take it personally, or you're overreacting, or it wasn't even criticism. I was just asking a question. And that can make you feel even more broken, because if you could just not feel this way, don't you think you would? I mean, it's pretty obvious. RSD is most commonly associated with ADHD, and there are actual neurological reasons for this. ADHD brains have differences in emotional regulation. There's less filtering happening between the stimulus and your emotional response. It's not a character flaw. It's how your brain is wired. And for those of you who have experienced trauma, especially developmental trauma, especially rejection or criticism from caregivers or peers growing up, your nervous system learned that rejection equals danger, real danger. So of course your body responds with fight, flight, or freeze when you perceive a rejection is happening. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it's been trained to do. It's trying to protect you. RSD is not an official diagnosis in the DSM. Some clinicians don't even believe in it, or they think it's just anxiety or rejection sensitivity. But I want to tell you, the experience is real. The pain is real. And whether we call it RSD, emotional dysregulation, or complex trauma responses, what matters is that you know your experience. And we're going to work with that. So I want to describe what an RSD episode might look like, because I think the recognition is the first step towards some transformation. You're at work, your boss sends you a message. Hey, can we talk about that report you sent? That's it, just that sentence. Nothing more, nothing less. immediately your body responds. Heart racing, stomach dropping, your mind starts spinning. They hated it. I'm going to get fired. I'm terrible at my job. Everybody probably knows. I should start looking for new work. Why did I even send that report? I should have checked it one more time. I'm so stupid. Within a minute, you've gone from a neutral message to complete catastrophe. And the physical sensations are real: sweating, nausea, tunnel vision, sometimes even dissociation. Then one of the two things happen. Either you find out the boss just had a minor question and actually loved the report, and you feel foolish and exhausted, or the boss did have criticism, and even though it's minor and constructive, it confirms every terrible thing you thought about yourself and you spiral even deeper. Does that sound familiar? Here's what's happening in your nervous system during an RSD episode. Your amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, perceives rejection and sounds the alarm. But because of how your brain is wired, the alarm is loud. It doesn't whisper, "Hey, be careful." It screams, "Danger, threat to survival." Your prefrontal cortex, the part that does rational thinking and perspective taking, goes offline. As soon as you are in a stress response, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. Rational thought is gone. Blood flow actually shifts away from it. So in that moment, you literally cannot think rationally. You cannot just calm down or just think logically. Your body is actually in survival mode. And this is so important to understand because I think a lot of the shame around RSD comes from judging ourselves for not being able to think our way out of it. But you can't think your way out of a nervous system response. You have to work with your body, not against it. I know this may feel heavy, so let's just think about it, right? Take a breath, take a beat. Because everything I describe, all that intensity, all that sensitivity, all that immediate emotional response is connected to something powerful. And we're going to explore that next. What if I told you that the same neurological wiring that makes you vulnerable to RSD is also connected to some of the most valuable human capacities? What if your sensitivity isn't a bug, it's a feature? I want to break this down because I think we need to be specific here. I'm not going to give you toxic positivity or tell you that your pain is actually a blessing in disguise. Your pain is fucking real. And the same wiring can manifest as both pain and power depending on the context and your relationship with it. If you have RSD, you're exquisitely attuned to emotional nuances. You pick up on micro expressions, tonal shifts, changes in energy that other people completely miss. This isn't just being intuitive. This is a sophisticated emotional radar system. Think about it. If your nervous system is constantly scanning for signs of rejection, it's also scanning for connection, for safety, for emotional truth. You can walk into a room and feel the dynamics. You know when someone says, "I'm fine," but they're absolutely not fine. You sense when there's tension before anyone else does. This makes you an incredible friend who shows up for people in their pain. This makes you an incredible therapist, coach, or helping professional who can meet clients at deep levels. This makes you an artist who creates work that moves people because you feel so much. This makes you a leader who notices when team members are struggling. And this makes you a parent who is deeply attuned to your children's emotional needs. Your emotional sensitivity is actually a form of intelligence. It's information. And while it can feel overwhelming, it's also giving you data that other people simply don't have access to. So the flip side of fear of rejection is often an intense drive toward excellence and achievement. If you have RSD, you probably have incredibly high standards for yourself. You're motivated to do things well, to avoid criticism, to be valued. Yes, this can become problematic when it tips into perfectionism or self-punishment. But let's look at the gift side. You probably have an incredible work ethic. You care deeply about the quality of what you produce. You're not okay with just good enough when you know you can do better. This makes you someone who produces exceptional work, a person others can count on to follow through, an innovator who keeps pushing for better solutions, and it makes you a learner who doesn't settle for surface understanding. The drive that can feel exhausting is also the drive that helps you achieve things that matter to you. The key is learning to redirect it, not toward avoiding rejection, but toward pursuing what you genuinely value. People with RSD often have a low tolerance for inauthenticity because you feel so much you can't fake it. You can't show up in relationships or work that don't align with your values because the emotional dissonance is too painful. This might have made life harder in some ways. Maybe you've struggled in corporate environments or with fake social dynamics. But it also meant that when you do find your people, your work, your path, you show up fully. I am a testament to this. I have struggled in the workplace with the fakeness, with the reading between the lines, with all the unspoken rules or all the social rules of how to behave and ignore things that need to be changed. I really struggled with it. And it wasn't until I created my own private practice and sought out on my own that I was able to fully show up at my job. It does take time. It does take nuancing. Because we're not interested in surface level connection. We want depth. We want meaning. And while this can feel isolating when we haven't found our people yet, it also means you build incredibly rich, authentic relationships when you do make those connections. And the intense emotions, they fuel creativity. Some of the most groundbreaking artists, writers, musicians, or innovators are people who feel deeply, who experience emotional intensity, who know what it's like to be in the extremes. Your emotional range isn't a problem to be solved, it's material to work with. It's what makes your perspective unique. It's what allows you to create things that move people because you're not creating from a safe, comfortable distance. You're creating from lived experience. And something I don't think gets talked about enough, sometimes what feels like RSD is actually your system correctly identifying that something is wrong. If you've experienced trauma, especially relational trauma, your nervous system learned to be hypervigilant. And yes, sometimes it sends false alarms, but sometimes it's picking up on a real red flag that other people miss. That quote unquote overreaction to someone's tone, maybe they actually were being passive aggressive. That immediate distrust of someone who seems nice, maybe your system is picking up on some manipulative behavior that your rational mind hasn't caught yet. I'm not saying we should trust every RSD response as gospel truth, but I am saying that we shouldn't automatically dismiss our gut feelings as just RSD either. Sometimes our sensitivity, a lot of the times our sensitivity is protecting us. So what if nothing about you needs to be fixed? What if the work isn't about becoming less sensitive, but about learning to work with your sensitivity? What if you stop trying to sand down your edges and instead learn to channel all that intensity into something powerful? All right? What if you did that? So how we do that? Let's work with the nervous system. So we understand that what RSD is, and we've reframed the intensity as connected to a genuine gift. What about the practical piece? How do you actually work with this in your daily life? Let's try it. When you get triggered, when you receive that text, that email, that comment, when your body goes into immediate activation, the goal isn't to stop the activation. It's to create even just a few seconds of space before you respond. So you pause and locate. So when you feel the familiar RSD surge, pause. Literally stop what you're doing. Don't respond, don't react, and simply don't try to fix it yet. Locate the sensation in your body. Where do you feel this? Chest, throat, stomach? We're not judging, we're just noticing. And then name it, silently or out loud. This is my RSD response. My nervous system perceives danger. And then ground yourself. Put your feet on the floor, wiggle your feet, feel what's touching them. If you've got socks on or shoes, press your hands together, touch something textured. Use your senses to bring you back into your body. This might take up to 30 seconds or a minute, and that's it. But in those 30 seconds, you're doing something revolutionary. You're witnessing your experience instead of being completely consumed by it. Pause, locate in the body, name it, ground it. You're creating dual awareness. Part of you is in the emotional storm, and part of you is watching it happen. That observer part is your access point to choice. Your nervous system isn't your enemy. It's trying to protect you. Even when it's sending false alarms, it's doing what it thinks will keep you safe. So instead of fighting against your RSD responses, what if you talk to your nervous system like you would a scared child? When you feel that surge, try something like, hey, I feel you. You're scared right now. You think this means rejection. This rejection means I'm not safe. Thank you for trying to protect me. I've got this. We're okay. This might feel silly at first, of course. Like, I don't blame you if you're like, whatever. But you're literally working with your autonomic nervous system here. And it responds to tone, to intention, and to the message that you're safe. So give it a whirl. Don't take it back. Because in yoga, we call this cultivating the opposite. When fear arises, we meet it with compassion. When the nervous system screams danger, we respond with, I'm here, you're safe. Think of your nervous system like a container. Right now, when RSD hits, it's like pouring a gallon of water into a cup. It overflows immediately, right? Gushing everywhere. Somatic resourcing is about gradually expanding that container. So here are some ways to somatically resource. Identify what makes you feel safe in your body. Is it wrapping yourself in a blanket, taking a hot shower, going for a walk, having your pet nearby? These aren't just self-care, they're actual nervous system regulating tools. Do you need an ice pack on your chest with your legs up the wall? Create a physical anchor. This could be a piece of jewelry you touch, a stone you carry, a bracelet you wear. When you're feeling good, touch this anchor intentionally. You're creating a somatic association. Then when the RSD hits, touching this anchor can help bring you back. So, identify what feels good on your body to self-soothe. A weighted blanket, a nice shower, a nature walk, petting your pet, spending time with your pet. Again, ice pack on the chest with legs up the wall. Something that is regulating for you. And then create a physical anchor, touching it when things are good so that when RSD hits, you can come back to that and find that feeling again. And identify your people. Who can you text when you're in an RSD spiral who will just say, I've got you, without trying to fix or minimize? And if you don't have anyone and you find yourself in an overwhelming RSD spiral, which RSD spiral is overwhelming. So if you find yourself in a spiral and needing just to reach out, 741-741 is an international text line. It is a crisis line, and they will talk to you. They will help you find grounding techniques, regulating techniques, and make sure you're okay before disconnecting. It is a real person. So you are not alone. Use your resources. So practice reaching out before you spiral all the way down. This is vulnerable, but it's also very powerful. It's okay to get strangers to help you. That's what they're there for. Use your resources if your support system is not there. Make your support system in whatever way you need to. And you can look for environmental resources. So what spaces make you feel held? Maybe it's a corner of your home, a coffee shop, a park, your backyard. Go there when you can, especially when you're feeling shaky. And after an episode of RSD, Even after the immediate intensity passes, there's often a hangover, exhaustion, shame, emotional rawness. Instead of just trying to move on and get over it, please take time to integrate. Open that journal. Journal about what happened, not to analyze whether you were right or wrong, to feel that way, but to process the experience. This is what I felt. This is how it felt. This is what I feel. And ask yourself, what was my system trying to protect me from? Usually there's something deeper, a core fear or old wound that's popped up. And offer yourself compassion. You're not broken. Your nervous system just did what it's wired to do. Talk to yourself like you would a toddler. Be gentle, get on your level, and understand that the world is big and scary. And notice what you need. Do you need some rest? Do you need connection, movement, creative expression? In DBT, we use the acronym HALT, H-A-L-T. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Hungry, eat. Angry, express your anger, cry, journal, write a letter, go outside and throw ice cubes on the concrete. Lonely, get a weighted blanket, phone a friend, watch a safe show, self-soothe. Tired, rest. So next up, building a window of tolerance. In trauma therapy, we talk about the window of tolerance, the zone where you can experience emotions without being overwhelmed or shutting down. And RSD often shoots you out that window immediately. The goal over time is to gradually expand that window. You can do this through titration, taking on challenges in small doses. If public speaking triggers RSD, maybe you start by speaking up in a small group, then gradually build. You're training your nervous system that it can handle discomfort without catastrophe. Pendulation. This is the technique from somatic experiencing. You're intentionally moving your attention between activation, the difficult feeling, and resource, something that feels good, any of the things we just talked about. So right now, try this. Think briefly about a time you felt rejected. Notice what happens in your body. Now shift your attention to something that feels good. Maybe a person you love, a place you feel safe, a memory that makes you smile, a dream that you have. Notice how your body shifts. Now back to the difficult feeling for a moment. Then back to the resource. Take a nice deep breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale out the mouth. Let's do it one more time. Inhale deeply. Exhale out the mouth. You're teaching your nervous system that it can touch pain without getting stuck there, and that's huge. These practices aren't about fixing you. They're about building a different relationship with your intensity. They're about honoring your sensitivity while also giving yourself more choice in how you respond. And as you build more capacity to be with your emotions without being completely overwhelmed, you'll find you can access these gifts we've talked about more readily. The empathy without exhaustion, the authenticity without the terror. If you have RSD, you've probably internalized a lot of messages about being too much, too sensitive, too anything, too dramatic, too emotional, all the too muches. And somewhere along the way, you probably started to believe that if you could just be different, calmer, more rational, less affected by things, then you'd be okay. Then you'd be lovable. I want to challenge that entire narrative. You are not and have never been too much. You are not and have never been broken. Your sensitivity is not a design flaw. What is true is that you're living in a world that often doesn't know how to hold emotional intensity. We live in a culture that values emotional intelligence, but really means keeping your emotions appropriate and comfortable for others. But emotions are information. They're wisdom. They're your system's way of communicating with you. And having access to the full range of human emotion is not a weakness. It's a profound fucking strength. So let's rewrite these old stories. This old story of I'm too sensitive. I overreact to everything. Your new story is I feel deeply and that's a gift. My sensitivity allows me to connect with others, create meaningful work, and live authentically. Your old story. My RSD makes me impossible to work with. I can't handle feedback. I'm too fragile. New story. I have high standards and care deeply about my work. I'm learning to distinguish between my nervous system's alarm and actual threat. Old story. Everyone has thicker skin. There's something wrong with me. New story. I'm wired differently, and that gives me access to emotional information that others might miss. My sensitivity is both a challenge and a gift, and I'm learning to navigate it. I want you to think about the people in your life who you admire, the artists whose work moves you, the friends who really see you, the healers who helped you in your darkest moments, the leaders who inspire you. I would bet money that many of them are deeply sensitive people who felt pain and transformed it into something meaningful. Your sensitivity puts you in that lineage. You're part of a long tradition of people who feel deeply, who refuse to numb out, who stay awake to life even when it hurts as much as it's hurting these days. That's not something to fix. That is something to honor. And honoring doesn't mean you're never struggling. It doesn't mean RSD just stops being hard. But it does mean you stop seeing yourself as defective. You stop trying to become someone you're not. And from that place of self-acceptance, real transformation becomes possible. Transformation that helps you channel that sensitivity into your gifts, your purpose, and your deepest self. We've covered a bit today. I want to take a moment to integrate. We talked about what RSD really is, not just being sensitive, but an intense nervous system response to perceived rejection. Then we reframed it entirely. We looked at how the same wiring that causes RSD also connects to profound empathy, high standards, authenticity, creativity, and intuition. It is your gift. And then we talked about somatic tools to work with your nervous system, creating space before responding, befriending your alarm system, building resources, and integrating after episodes. And this is what I want to challenge you for this week. Pick one practice from today, just one. Maybe it's the pause and locate practice when you get triggered. Maybe it's talking to your nervous system with compassion. Start there. You don't have to transform everything overnight. You're building a new relationship with yourself, and that takes time. It takes time to undo all the conditioning, all the bullshit we've internalized, and all the rules we've made because of this bullshit we've internalized. And if you're in a moment right now where RSD feels really hard, where you're exhausted from feeling so much, you're not alone. Your experience is valid. And the fact that you're here listening to this, doing the work to understand yourself, that takes courage. So I'm going to close it up with a big thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for your sensitivity. Thank you for your emotional courage and your willingness to feel everything at volume 10 in a world that often asks us to turn it so far down to a gabillion. You're not too much. You're exactly enough. And your intensity, when you learn to channel it, is one of your greatest superpowers. Please remember to be gentle with yourself. Feel what you feel. And remember, your sensitivity is a gift, even on the days it doesn't feel like one. I'd love to hear from you. Message me, comment, or follow. If this episode helped you feel more understood and less alone, please share it with another neurodivergent woman who might need it. And as always, I offer private sessions virtually if you're up for it, whether you're healing trauma, navigating a big life shift, or just ready to come home to yourself. I hold space for women just like you every day of the week. It is my honor, it is my blessing. It is just my life's gift. And I'm so happy to be where I am and be able to do what I do. And I'd love to help you. If that's something you're looking forward to or are curious about, go into the show notes, click on the link tree, click on the option where it says consultation to have a consultation with me, and let's have a chit chat. And if you'd like to just hear some good things in your ears to motivate you to feel like the empowered badass woman that you are, please listen to my Spotify playlist, Divine Woman. It is there to guide your voice home to your body and to your power. You are never too much, my dear, never too late, and never too far gone. And you don't have to figure this out all alone. Until next time, may you be happy and free. May mine and your healing ripple outward to bless the world with happiness and freedom. Take care, and I'll see you soon.